Welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's video, we're going to be giving our top 5 corner outfield options for the Padres and really for any team in the Padres situation looking for a corner outfielder. Now, for our case, we're going to lean to a little bit more less expensive deals in this. So maybe you're a New York market team and you're listening to this. It might not be exactly the same. But for our team, for the Padres, we'll go 5 through 1, I think, of what we like. And let's get started. So at number 5, I have Kris Bryant on that list. Now, the reason I have him number 5 is because he's expected to make like $23 million on a 5-year deal. So pretty expensive deal, pretty pricey. I don't see the Padres. I don't think it makes much sense for them to go and sign him for that amount of money. But I do think he's a solid player. And considering the other options available, he made it at 5. I wouldn't like them to make this deal. This is probably like the cutoff. I think the first 4 guys I'd be pretty happy with. I wouldn't really like Kris Bryant in this, but I have him at number 5. Isaac, who you got?
I'll probably go with Michael Conforto. He's expected to make around $3 million less, I believe, than Kris Bryant, right? Kris Bryant's around 23. Michael Conforto's around 20. Again, I brought it up in the last video about Tommy Pham, and I brought up Nick Castellanos and linked him to Kris Bryant, trying to compare them. You're only going to get one position out of both Castellanos and Conforto. You're going to be able to get 3 out of Kris Bryant. So in that aspect, I do think Kris Bryant would be a better acquisition than Michael Conforto, as well as, if you look at the numbers hitting last year, Michael Conforto was atrocious. And I know that's not, what he normally does in his career, but Kris Bryant has been pretty consistent. And I just think he'd be better if we're going to sign someone to that amount of money. And, $3 million is not much more to shell out for, an additional 2 positions that you're going to be able to get. You're going to be able to get a third baseman and a first baseman as well.
So then, do you have Kris Bryant at 4? Okay, so you have Kris Bryant at 4. I have Tommy Pham at 4, and we just talked about him in the last video, so I'm not going to get into him too much. But I do think that he's up there. I would be happy if they got Tommy Pham back. I don't know how confident I'd be that he'd be the starter all year round. I think you could end up trading for another corner outfielder. I think maybe Hassel could come up, maybe someone comes up, but I do think as kind of a stopgap option at that left field spot, I think Tommy Pham being on a 1-year, $6 million deal makes a lot of sense, and that's why I put him at number 4. And you had Kris Bryant. You want to get into Kris Bryant a little bit and then get into your number 3 spot?
Yeah, so realistically, when we're talking about people on this list, I think we're going to need to sign 2 people. I think personally 2 people at least. But yeah, I got Kris Bryant next. And, if you look at his baseball savant, I don't think anything pops out. I was looking at it earlier. Matt, do you think you could pull it up? So I was looking at it earlier, and it's like nothing's dark red like we all want to see. We all want some dark red, the 90 plus, and that I think that's kind of what we expect from Kris Bryant because of the name itself. And he's won an MVP, he's won a World Series, and that's kind of what we expect, but we just didn't get that out of him. But that's not to say that he didn't have a good year last year. He had an 821 OPS, and that's similar to what Manny had. I don't know how many home runs he had, but it's not that I don't think he'd be a good acquisition. I think he would be a good acquisition, but he would only be a good acquisition if we had the money. We don't have the money right now. And that's why Matt and I have been, talking about some, oh God, it's worse than I thought because I looked at it earlier and I didn't think it was this bad. But it's all just average. And I don't know how, looking at the Savant page, I don't know how he had an 821 OPS. How many home runs did he have? 18? Damn, he had an 861 OPS. Holy. All right. So that's pretty good. So I don't know how he did that, but
he did 358 on base. That's pretty good. 503 slugging. He must have had a ton of doubles, right?
Yeah, he had.
He's a good gap-to-gap hitter too.
Absolutely, yeah. So he had to have had a ton of doubles, and that's great. Even if they're not home runs, I'll still say hitting for power. I think that's fantastic. But yeah, that outfield is pretty damn bad. And we talked about Tommy Pham, and we were saying how you're not going to get many better defensive options. So that's why Tommy Pham is a pretty good value because I mean he's not much worse than any of these guys on this list that we're talking about. But 23 million is pretty expensive, and we don't really have 23 million unless we get rid of some certain people. It'll be really hard to get rid of those certain people, and it seems like he's out of our price range. Though that's not to say that the Padres wouldn't be willing to fork out the money, because we saw before the lockout they seem to be willing to fork it out for Castellanos, and I'm scared to death about that.
And did you have KB at 4 or 3? Who do you have at 3?
I kind of switched it up. I'm looking at it now. I'm actually probably gonna go with. It's hard because I want to go with Tommy Pham or Eddie Rosario. I'm gonna go with the tie. I'm gonna go with the tie. If you look at Eddie Rosario's career numbers, you go based off. I think it was like 2017 to 2020. 3 years in a row, he had over an 800 OPS. 2020, he had a 792. And then last year he fell off, but had a really solid, postseason. Maybe not the whole postseason, but postseason performance. He was pretty clutch. It seemed like. I don't have the numbers for that, so somebody let me know. But I just think he'd be a really solid option for what, 10 million? You said we were talking about before. 10 million. I think that's pretty solid for him, considering what he has averaged throughout his career. And if he can come anywhere near like an 800 OPS, I think that'd be really good for him. We talked about Tommy Pham already. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. We weren't really into detail about him, and I think it was pretty good. But yeah, I have to go with the tie there just because they're both really cheap options. I also have Jock Peterson on here because and I'll get into him later.
So you're going with Rosario and Pham tied at 3? Okay. So I have Kyle Schwarber tied at 3. We brought up these guys are not going to give you a great defense. I mean, they're going to be pretty abysmal on the defensive end, but I'm going to pull up another baseball savant over the last couple of days. If you watch that fan video, you guys have been getting a ton of baseball savants shown on here. So another one, the reason I'm showing this one is because you're going to see very clearly why I like the idea of bringing in Kyle Schwarber. He's an awful outfielder. But guys, look at this. Like, this is what this team needs. When you look at where the Padres rank, a lot of people say, oh, they need to cut down on strikeouts. They were like 21st or like a low 20s in the strikeout percentage for their team. They were very low in slugging. This is a guy that absolutely destroys the baseball and is going to be a great hitter for you. Now, the other thing is he's not very expensive. He's supposed to get, I think, like $12 million per year on I want to say like a 4 or 5 year deal is what it's kind of expected. So not too bad. Like this is a pretty good value. I guess more like 13 million according to SpotTrack, but I like it. I think it's a good idea. I don't love it because he's so bad on defense, but I mean, he might strike out a ton. He might, but he doesn't really chase much. He walks a bunch. So if you're seeing a bunch of pitches and you're hitting at what, 6? I think he'd hit 6, 5, 6. This is what you want to have a 5-6 hitter, in my opinion. So I like it. I'm a big fan. So that's why I got a 3. Isaac, who are your 2 and 1? I'll go. You do your 2 and 1, and then I'll do my 2 and 1.
Number 2, I got Seiya Suzuki. And for anyone who watched our video with Chris Correa about Seiya Suzuki, he went into depth, and I still kind of wasn't on board. But, when you look at the rest of the outfield options and you realize, like, this guy is most likely, what do I mean most likely? He is the best defensive player on the market right now. At least out of all the names that we named, in my opinion, he is the best defensive player in the market right now. I believe he won a couple Gold Gloves in Japan. I think it was Japan. Yeah, so he won a couple Gold Gloves over there in Japan. And that's something that I really like about him, especially considering we saw some really bad defense out of Tommy Pham. We saw some really bad defense out of Will Myers. And that's not to say that, defense is one of the more important things, especially when you look at the Braves. Jock Peterson wasn't a great defender. I don't think Eddie Rosario was either. They were just kind of scattering guys around, and they were using them mostly in the lineup. They were playing their roles really well. But when you look at Seiya, lot of potential. He's projected to be a much better hitter than Ha-Seong Kim is. And, we all love Ha-Seong Kim. He's a great defender, but he's not that good of a hitter right now, at least. And say it's supposed to be a lot better than that. People say his floor is like a 750 or 800 OPS, something around there. And I would love that. I think that'd be great as long as he's providing defensive value. So whatever he's gonna make, I think it's like 12 to 15 million. I think that'd be solid for Seiya Suzuki, and that's somebody that you're gonna plug in at the bottom of your lineup. Maybe not every day, but pretty close to every day, because he's supposed to be a really good hitter, and you want to get him as many at bats in the major league as you can. So, number 2, Seiya Suzuki. Number 1 was Matt's number 3. And this is kind of why I said we're going to need to sign at least 2 of these guys, because in my opinion, with the DH, you cannot afford for this guy to see the field every day. It's called Schwarber. He was phenomenal. You saw that Baseball Savant page, and let me see if I can pull up his stats real quick. But man, that Baseball Savant page, it popped with a lot of red, and that's something that you want in like your 5-6 hole. But hold on, sorry, I'm trying to pull up the stat. That's something that you want in your 5-6 hole. I think in the Tommy Pham video, Matt brought up how he would like to see Nelson Cruz in that 5th hole, and I think that'd be great too. But let's say you sign Kyle Schwarber instead of Nelson Cruz. I'll take that every day of the week. And if you plug him in that 5-6 hole, you're gonna go for it.
I was just gonna say, and then I think one bonus too is by signing Kyle Schwarber. One, if you sign Nelson Cruz, you're not gonna have him very long. I mean, year, 2 years max, right? You sign Kyle Schwarber like a 4-year deal. You know what you're gonna get out of him offensively. He can be your primary DH, but you can also bring him into the outfields a couple days. Like, it gives you more versatility. You get to rest Fernando in the DH spot. You get to rest Manny in the DH spot, and it might save a couple guys from getting a little banged up. And say that Fernando's shoulders feel a little funky. All right, have him DH for a week. Like, it's not the end of the world. If you have Nelson Cruz in the outfield, I mean, we saw how bad Kyle Schwarber's numbers were in the outfield. Nelson Cruz is a whole different beast back out there. So, like, it would be a lot different, I think, even though the advanced analytics say, like, all right, yeah, don't put Kyle Schwarber in the outfield. You can toss him in there a little bit. I think that's okay. But yeah, I like what you're putting, like, as the like, having him at 1 shows, like, yeah, the Padres need to improve their offense, and that's something that we're really trying to hit home on. But what were you gonna say?
Remember, we've brought it up many times that all the teams that ended up in the playoffs, pretty much all of them were top 10 or top 15 in OPS, home runs, like all the important stats, they were in there. And if you look at Kyle Schwarber's numbers, a 928 OPS last year with a 148 OPS plus, a 554 slugging percentage, 32 home runs, 3.5 WAR player, 266 batting average. Like, this is somebody that you want in your lineup for only $12 million. That's his estimated market value. I think he turned down a deal that was pretty expensive. And I remember thinking, damn, if he's turning down that deal, I kind of don't want him. But, even if it's pushing 15, I'm still okay with it to an extent. Because as long as he's able to replicate those numbers, maybe not replicate, but be a little around there, I think that'd be amazing for this lineup. That's something that this lineup really needs, just power from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like it. You're kind of talking about me moving him up in my rankings now. You're talking me into it. But at 2, I put Eddie Rosario. I think you had him at 3, so not much different there. I did mention too, like, the first 4 guys, I'd be happy getting all these guys. So I put Eddie Rosario at 2. I think his numbers over the course of his career are a lot better than maybe we kind of remember him being. Also, one interesting note, when he was a rookie, he had 15 triples. I know that doesn't mean anything to anyone, but that's just a crazy thing to see. 15 triples as a rookie. That's awesome. But anyways, he's career a little under 800 OPS, like 790. In Atlanta last year, he was ridiculous. He had over a 900 OPS. And obviously he was postseason hero and everything. But A. Rosario, he's a guy, if he gets hot, he can fuel your offense. We did see that in Atlanta. So I had him at 2. But you're kind of talking me into moving Schwarber into 2. The one difference, though, with those 2 is I think Schwarber would probably be on, like, I would guess a 4-year deal, where Eddie Rosario is probably taking a 1 or a 2-year deal. So you would have a little bit more flexibility. And potentially if you bring Abrams into the outfield or Robert Hassel comes up, it makes more sense than if you have Rosario on a shorter term deal. And you can kind of have them step into that role. But also you have the same thing with Myers. So you might be in a spot where you are trying to get an outfielder again. But at the same time, too, like Schwarber's more of a DH. So it's just kind of a weird situation there. And then at number 1, I have Seiya Suzuki. I also think he's going to get about $12 to $15 million a year, but I'm a big fan of going for the home run. I get that he might struggle early on offense, but if he's around a 750 OPS guy and he is that elite of a defender as he's going to be, you're going to have a really good center fielder and a really good right fielder, and you can put Myers in left. Myers has been better in left than he has been in right for his career, and you have a pretty solid outfield. Also, I know Myers isn't the best outfielder, but Myers is fast. You're going to have a very, very athletic outfield, very, very fast, covering a lot of ground. So I think in terms of defense, you'd have a very, very good defensive outfield. And offensively, if he develops into a star player, you are going to have the next big Japanese star in baseball. So I think, like, yes, it's a big swing, and it might not work out. It might not, but I think it's one that's worth it. And I think it would be a big move for the Padres, definitely. I think he'd probably get like 5 years, 75. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Isaac? Like, I'm thinking because like 5
4 or
or
5
6
years.
is yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I think that would always be my guess is 5 for 75. So that's like half of what Castellanos is. Also, final thing to bring up. You guys notice we did not bring up Nick Castellanos in this video. We think that would be a bad idea, like a very, very bad idea that will hinder the Padres for years. We've talked about this in the past. I know a lot of you guys really like Nick Castellanos. If we could guarantee that he was going to come in here and produce what he produced last year, me, Chase, and Isaac would all sign up for that. But we do not have a lot of faith that he's going to be able to do that, especially if he comes to San Diego. We see the power number drop-offs when players come from other cities into San Diego. That's a real thing. And he is coming from arguably the easiest park to hit home runs at. That's a recipe for disaster. He's putting up Kyle Schwarber defensive metrics. Like, you don't want him as an outfielder. You want him as a DH. And if you're going to sign a DH for 5-6 years, like 150 million plus, I just think it is a bad move. So top to bottom, KB at 5, Pham at 4, Rosario at 3. I'm changing it. Schwarber at 2, Suzuki at 1. That's what I'm going with. Isaac, what's your final 5 to 1?
Final 5, it's got to be, shoot, man, dang it. Let me look at my list real quick. I'm sorry. I know Bryant was at 4, but I kind of forgot who was at 5. I had Michael Conforto. I had Michael Conforto at 5. That's like, okay, being realistic, that's like a no-go for me. I don't want him. I had Chris Bryant at 4. Don't think we'll get him. Don't think it'd be a bad signing. Not the best one though. Who do I have at 3?
You had a Rosario and Pham.
Tommy Pham, yeah. Okay, so Ty talked about Tommy Pham. We both talked about Rosario. Say Suzuki at 2. I really like, what Matt brought up about, even if he's a 750 OPS guy, if he's an elite defender, that's everything we could ask for in his first year, and he's only going to improve at the plate after that. Number 1, Kyle Schwarber, guy rakes. I'm afraid this will be on bad Padres takes, but he's going to be a much, much better hitter than what's his name? Nick Castellanos is. By far, I think that's a guarantee, and I'm trying to think of a bet I can make. I'll think of one soon, but I would put it on the line to say that Kyle Schwarber will put up better offensive metrics and numbers than Nick Castellanos.
Dude, I like that, Isaac. We're going to have to see what this bet is. Also, eventually this offseason, we're going to all have to play some kind of bets. I know Chase is doing like a Hosmer one, so maybe that'll be yours. We'll have to go through and do all these. But I like it. I like the faith in Kyle Schwarber over Nick Castellanos. And it's not even like to knock Nick Castellanos. It's really not. It's just that his deal is so much. If they were on the same, if they're going to make the same amount of money, I think it'd be a really fun discussion to have. But him making like double for a year to 2 extra years is just, it's a no-go from all of us. So know a lot of Potter fans are really wanting Castellanos, but not going to be us. We also said some stuff that you guys didn't like in the past. We said that we should trade Ryan Weathers, and everyone ripped us so hard for that. And then we're like, okay, guys, we said Ryan Weathers for Max Scherzer. That would have been a good move. Maybe not. He had dead arms, so maybe everyone has a point here. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. But let us know if you think Castellanos should be in here too. Like, make the case for him. I want to hear it. Like, I'm not gonna just be like, oh no, you're an idiot, like you don't know what you're talking about. No, I want to hear the case for him. I get it. Also, if he's gonna put up the same numbers as he has in the past, sign me up for that. We're totally down with that, but we just don't think that it's gonna be able to be replicated when you base it off his past seasons, really. But thank you all for listening. I think it's gonna do it for this top 5. This is a pretty fun one to do. Hopefully, I don't know what other positions we should do. If there's something that you guys would like us to do, let us know. I think it was Arthur. Arthur brought up an idea that we're going to do. And basically it's going to be all the listeners. I'm gonna post something on YouTube. I probably already have actually, because I think I'm gonna do that on Monday. This is coming out on Tuesday. We're gonna post something basically saying, send in your trade proposals, and we're gonna do a mailbag episode and go through those. So super excited to do that as well. Gotta have that commented. I think I'll post it on Monday. Gotta have it commented by like Wednesday at like 2:00, probably around that time. And we'll go through all those and talk about them then. But thank you all for listening. We'll get onto those trade proposals. That's gonna be a really, really fun one. But let us know and comment your top 5 below as well for the Padres corner outfield options. So thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.